Welcome to Doors to Hope and Healing, an inside look at foster care and adoption needs in Connecticut. My name is Jacqueline Ford. I have had the honor of working for the department for close to 30 years, and although I may be familiar with many of the topics I bring to you, I have invited experts in those fields to help dispel the myths and misconceptions that often act as barriers. Join us as we open our doors to an inside look at the Department of Children and Families. Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for being on Doors to Hope and Healing. You're a friend to the set. You had been on our show. It was in 2019. And I had a chance to watch that show the other night, and I thought, I'm in awe of how much you've accomplished in 3 years. And I thought it was time to have you back on the show to talk about where you're at and what you're doing, and tell our viewers all the changes that you've had in your life over the last 3 years. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. And thank you so much for the kind words. It really means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. I mean them genuinely. If you can take us back to your childhood, just to kind of set the stage of why you chose this path, this journey. Can you talk a little bit about your foster care experience?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so I spent the most of my life growing up in the foster care system, or at any given point in time, DCF was always involved with my life as a kid. I will preface this, I think as a kid, you sometimes have that veil of naivety, so things aren't as crazy as they seem until you kind of look back, and, hindsight's 20/20, but, I remember growing up in a package store. I used to roam the streets as like a little 4 or 5-year-old, not the best thing, slept in cars, all of the above, and I entered in the system because, my biological mother, she was in a battle and later lost with addictions, and then my biological father had been deported, and so all these circumstances kind of collided, and that put me into the foster care system. And so, I think some people have amazing adopted homes, amazing foster care experiences. For me, it was quite challenging, and so at around 17, 18, I really kind of went out on the world on my own because things just weren't working out in the home that I was adopted by, and have since given them a ton of grace, and we've been able to forgive each other to take that weight off. But at that moment, it was quite contentious, and so I set off to Tungus Community College. Really was basically homeless at that time, couch surfing, and the track record there is I went from Tungus Central to Harvard, which was really a bit of a crazy climb, an interesting path. But a lot of what I do today is rooted in that story of, thinking back to the mountains I had to climb, and I realized I was able to find success because of mentors, because of friends, because of peers, and there's a lot of other people out there in my community that I really want to be able to support. The metaphor I often use is we all climb the same mountain. Those of us who have the circumstances that place us into the child welfare system. Same mountain, but different paths. And with that, we can really, look towards one another and support and lift and get us through that journey. So that's a lot of what I do today is from where I've come from.
I appreciate that, Chris. So DCF has, a big support network about our transitioning aged youth.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were back at Central, and there was a program at that college that we had hoped would just kind of catch fire nationally, so that all the colleges would have this. Can you talk about that time in your life when you were at Central and that program that you were involved with?
Yeah, absolutely. And in a sense, it kind of has, which is amazing. And so I had founded CARE alongside one other colleague of mine at Central, and we built that up, and it really was a special time in my life because Central was my alma mater for my undergraduate, and I loved it. I had my heart in it, and we realized there was a huge need. When someone goes into college, we know, to pull the stats out of my head, 88% of foster youth and adopted youth want to attend college. Of those who want to attend, only 3% will graduate, and that's in stark contrast with the general population, and so it's about 30% graduate. And so we really wanted to cater services that would, help lift and build community and provide the interventions that these students and adopted youth and foster youth would need to get through their college journey, as I had gone through, and looking at also my own adversities and, what didn't go well and what could have gone well if we just had one person in our corner. For example, like housing issues on breaks and textbooks, and being able to make sure that you just learn the ins and outs of how to do well in a collegiate classroom. And so that program began to blossom. And so to take on a little bit of a journey, what ends up happening is from spring around 2019, I went off to work for Senator Amy Klobuchar as part of the Foster Youth Internship Program in DC through the Congressional Coalition on Adoption Institute. And I was able to build some amazing connections while I was in Washington, D.C. And those connections gave the energy and led to the creation of Sun Scholars, Inc., realizing that, the loyalty that we also want to place is on the students as opposed to the college, and realizing that, hey, students have a lot of other options besides Central. And I love Central, right? I went to college there. I consider that my first home. But for some people, Yale's the right place. For others, Tungus Community College is the right place. For others, it's Quinnipiac. And so we really wanted to become that community model. And so I left Central. I lived and worked entirely for free for about a year. I was going to Harvard at night, just working completely for free as I built up Sun as well as a registered 501c3. And one thing led to another, and we were able to build a contract with the state of Connecticut. And we've since blossomed from there. And we've really been able to actualize as a true statewide model. So we are at all of the colleges now. We serve about a dozen colleges in Connecticut, 60 students, and it's really, really a fantastic thing to see what it's become. So yeah.
So tell me about Sun Scholars. For our viewers that are watching, I know that it's difficult to be a college student for someone who isn't in foster care and to have a place to go home on the college breaks and all of that. And I know that you had created with your colleague at Central that environment so that kids felt like they weren't alone in that journey. So tell us about Sun Scholars. What are the services you offer, and all of the information you can share about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sun is really unique. So and I love it. It is my heart, my soul goes into this. And so with Sun Scholars Inc., is we're a registered 501c3, tax-exempt organization. What makes us really unique is that myself included, all of my staff, our whole team have a lived experience in foster care or adoption, meaning that every full-time staff member that works at Sun, that's working directly with students, has that lived experience in child welfare. And about 50% of our board shares that experience as well. And that's really in the energy of being part of the community that we're serving. We really want to be able to build that relationship of trust and empathy and bring lived expertise and elevate that, right? Because if you live the system, you have an expertise in it. If you can combine that with professionalism, you really just have an amazing power to wield. And that's what we want to be able to bring to our students. And so what we actually do is we kind of see ourselves as three pillars, right? So we look at academic coaching, career coaching, and resource coordination. And this is all in the efforts of getting our students from freshman year to graduation. So we'll stay with the student every day through their whole college journey. And we take it the extra step. We really try to double down and ensure that our graduates either enter into graduate school or find employment that is economically feasible, because we know how scary graduation is for our community. When I graduated, I didn't have a family to go back to. I had some friends, but I didn't have that traditional, home bedroom back home that, rightfully so, many Americans have. Many 20-year-olds live with their families, rightfully so. But for us, we don't really have that. And so I was blessed to land a job with Teach for America when I graduated. And that's what we want our students to feel. We want them to be able to graduate and say, okay, we're going to fight tooth and nail and land you a job. And so to get there, we do a lot of academic interventions. We do a lot of career support, internship placements. We have a student right now doing the same internship I did years ago in DC. So she just presented to Congress and the White House. She definitely has a very bright future ahead of herself. And whenever we fall short, or rather there's an area that we think somebody else will better serve, we'll resource coordinate. Examples of that, we'll connect youth with our students with food pantries, housing supports, emergency funds. We'll make sure that we can able to connect them with therapists and clinicians that can really be able to get that full circle wraparound approach. And we do all of that encompassed in this really big goal of creating community. So we want our students to feel both as our future colleagues, because we don't see them as just, a piece of paper, because I know what it was like to feel like a piece of paper. And we don't want them to have that. So to us, they're our future colleagues in each other's network. And so, we do monthly workshops, we're doing outings, in a couple of weeks, we rented out a private suite at the Yard Goat Stadium for them.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we're going to New York in December. We're taking a trip to Florida in January. So we do a lot of those community building exercises as well, with lessons embedded, but really to be able to make sure our students, when they graduate, they have that social capital and they have that network. So that's kind of the 101 of Sun Scholars Inc. So yeah.
So how do one of our youth who's beginning to think about colleges, how do they find Sun Scholars? How do you get introduced to our foster kids? Sure.
So there's a couple ways. The most kind of utilized way right now is a DCF social worker can make a referral. So an adolescence worker, case manager will make a referral right on our website. You click www.sunscholarsInc.org.
I was going to ask you if you could say that. Yeah. So can you say that one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. sunscholarsInc.org. And then right in the top right, there's a referral button. Now, if you are a youth that wants to approach us directly, you can do that same thing. You click the referral button, and it'll ask if you're self-referring yourself. And in that case, we'll most likely follow up with the worker, just get everybody on board. The way we phrase ourselves on this is that, we have funding from DCF, although we're not DCF. We have funding from Town Fair Tire, and they are amazing blessings. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say I'm not a tire salesman right now, right? And so we see ourselves as a partner with the agency, but we also want our students to know that we want to avoid what is potential systematic trauma, right? A lot of students and a lot of youth, myself included, sometimes have amazing experiences with DCF. Sometimes it can be a point of re-traumatization. It can be a point of stress. It can be a point of just like to embody all of the hell that you're going through, to put it on an agency, rightfully deserved or not. And so what we try to be mindful of is Sun is our own unique agency, and we partner with DCF, and it is a blessing. We work real closely with the social workers, but we want to make sure our students feel that their time and their place is of trust and of privacy and of mutual respect. So yeah, absolutely.
When do you begin that relationship with our foster youth? When do our foster youth tend to either self-referral, or when does a social worker begin that relationship with you?
Absolutely, right at high school graduation. So we will pick up the ball right at high school graduation. If we get a referral before high school graduation, we can begin conversations, and then the second they graduate, we bring them right on board. We do have a high school conference that we're going to be kicking off, and so that's going to be a cool way to engage younger youth that are sophomore through juniors and high school, and we hope in the future to broaden our supports to indeed go down into the high schools. Right now we're pretty much in that 18 to 24-year-old range, and the reason for that is a lot of research shows that there's 3 points that a college student, and especially a foster youth, will kind of fall off the map. And so the first one is, do they get to high school graduation? The second one is the summer between high school and freshman year. And the third one is actually getting them in the sophomore year. And if you can get through all of that, you're pretty much golden. So we take the latter two of summer and then their college experiences, where we really try to intervene.
That's wonderful. So give me an example of a college that you said that you're in. How many colleges now?
We have about a dozen that we have students at right now.
And what is your relationship with at the college?
Yeah, it varies. Our strongest relationship right now is with Capital Community College. They're amazing. We have office space there in their Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Center, which is a great way for us to kind of work directly with our CCC students. For other colleges, it's almost entirely focused on the student. So for instance, when we go down to, let's say, UConn, we'll go to the student center, we'll go with the students to a coffee shop, we'll meet them there. We really try to meet with the students right in the community, and in those senses, it's just, hey, we're completely focusing on the student, and we build relationships with professionals at the college. We'll meet with their academic advisors at UConn, we'll meet with admissions coaches and so on, but we really, really keep the loyalty directly to the student. And this way, we can also give them just completely honest to God advice. If you know, they want to transfer, you know, we had a student this semester that transferred from UConn to another college, and they're like a 3.0 golden student, amazing, but it just wasn't the right fit. We can say, hey, yeah, we fully support that. Let's look at all the cards on the table, what makes sense, and we can support that. Whereas, you know, if we were embedded in a college, we might have to say, oh, well, let's keep enrollment up, let's do this. But as the community side, we really can make we can really be a steward of the relationship and hone in entirely on the best interests of the student. So
that they're successful outside of that institution they may have started at.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That makes perfect sense. And for our youth, they need that continued relationship. And I have always been a firm believer that someone who has lived experience can make such an impact on somebody who is walking that same path and to be successful in that. So, you know, I'm in awe of all that you're doing. I'm just so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. It means the world to me. Yeah, really, really.
I am. I mean, you have, you know, I think that, you know, when you talk about adversity and all that you have experienced and all that you're giving back based on your experience is commendable. And I don't think I've met anyone who's crossed paths with you that doesn't share that same sentiment. So it's an honor to have you on today. When we talk about the 3 years since you were here, a lot has changed in your personal life.
Yeah.
So bring us up to speed.
Sure. So a lot has changed. You know, the easy kitchen table ones are my education was a drastic change. I entered into my master's program at Harvard and completed my master's this past spring in Master of Liberal Arts and Extension Studies, and I did a thesis on child welfare and policy reform, which was really exciting. So that was a blessing, and it was a little bit of a whirlwind because I started it right before COVID, and then it went into COVID. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm virtual. So, but it was a blast. It changed my life in every way, shape, and form. I got married, so my wife's actually over here. Yes. She's amazing. She's way smarter than I will ever be in every way, shape, and form. She has the unofficial world record for spider solitaire. So she can complete a game in like 30 seconds. It's crazy. You know, we fostered a teenager. We have a house in Manchester now with our two pets, Fig Newton, the cat, and Puchakaya, the rabbit. And Sun has blossomed. So there's been a lot of really big changes, and it's a lot of blessings, but it came with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. You know, a lot of work went into that. You know, I'll never forget. You know, when I left Central, it was a gut feeling of like, wow, you know, I love this place, but there's more that I could be doing. And I felt that calling. And so, you know, I did what I had to do. And for 18 months, I was in the desert, you know, I was living and I was working and I was building up Sun and, you know, just trying, knowing that if I can show that this can be successful, I know people will then say, wow, let's put our energy behind this. And it worked. And so, you know, I realized that it is a blessing because a lot of times in life we could work really hard and something may not come out of it. And I was just very thankful that my hard work was noticed and you know, I'm here today. So
you are. You're very present. And
Thanks.
You know, before we end our show, this segment of our show, can you talk to us about you kind of breezed right over it that you fostered. So you were a foster parent. As young as you are, but I can't imagine anybody being more qualified because you know what it was like to be a foster child, and you know what it's like for all of these, you know, these kids, these youth who are in foster care or group homes, and how it feels. So how did you become? We have a few more minutes, but how did you become a foster parent?
Of course. So there was these two individuals that were at a group home that I worked at in that year that I was working for free. On the weekends, I would do the overnight shift at a group home, and you know, I kept a strong relationship with them. And you know, one thing led to another, and one of these two individuals was in need of a home. They were entering into their senior year of high school, and you know, so my wife Carolyn and I decided, you know, we're blessed, we have some extra space. Let's do this. And so we became a special study home, and you know, it definitely had its challenges, right? So I want to be mindful to not romanticize the fostering experience, but it was rewarding. It was fantastic, and we did everything we wanted to do. We really were able to help this individual get through their senior year, get into college, right? UConn now. They're getting their own apartment. We're still super close with them because they have since moved into an apartment and independent living. But we text every day pretty much. You know, we still have a very big presence in their life and theirs and ours. And it was a really special experience. And I think for me, it was one, a looking glass into a side of the child welfare system I hadn't seen before. How financially demanding fostering can be, how rewarding it can be, how time demanding it can be. I met some amazing social workers and had relationships with social workers that previously I'd never had interacted at that level. On the other side of it, it really was healing in many ways. There was moments of, I would think back and like, silly experience, like she spilled like syrup or something in the kitchen. And I was like, oh, it's fine, not a big deal. And I remember when I did that in a foster home, I same experience. I dropped the thing of syrup and it splattered over the floor. I was basically beaten for it. It was a really big issue. It was like, why did you do this? You wasted food, you made a mess. And I was totally shamed for this. And it was just like very healing because I'm like, this foster youth has no idea I've had that experience. But I'm like, here in this moment, I can do right by somebody else in where I was wronged. And that was, that's a very like face value example of that, on top of dozens others of this was a healing opportunity. And so,
that's a beautiful story.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a beautiful story. So in your role as a foster parent and your role obviously as the founder and CEO of Sun Scholars,
Sure.
how can you see the Department of Children and Families staff supporting our transitional aged youth?
Yeah, the biggest thing across the board is the importance of allyship and the importance of the relationship and building trust and seeing our students, semantics matter, right? Words matter. Seeing our students as indeed our future colleagues. I can't express how often, one, we meet amazing workers, but then I'll meet other workers and how strange I can feel it must be for them to sit in a room when we're doing, a quote unquote intake with a student, and here is an executive director that grew up in the system. Because then you start seeing that the kid next to you is not just a client or a piece of paper that's going to end up, working in some back room, which is a very respectable job. But like, oh, that person is one day going to do something. And that's a scary paradigm shift. And for many workers, for many child welfare professionals, it allows, that person may have a voice one day, and they should have a voice one day to speak up on all the rights and all the wrongs in their story, and knowing that that moment is part of their story. And so the way that we do better and do best by families in the system, whether their kids are entering or they're the kids themselves entering the system, is just, trust, relationships, being authentic, being able to say like, hey, I understand who you are, and you're important, you're valued, and really not just saying those things, but feeling them. And I think that's critical, is that relationship.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on. I'm definitely going to have you back on.
Oh, be an honor. Yeah,
to see
absolutely.
where you're going and what more you can do. And thank you for sharing your story and your path with our viewers. And I wish you much success. Can you just give us the website one more time before we close?
Yeah, sure. So it is www.sunscholarinc, sunscholarinc.org.
Thank you. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching today. And now we invite you to watch a video, Meet Me Where I'm At, where the voices of our youth tell a story of what they're looking for in a family. Thank you.
Before I was placed in foster care,
I learned through actions and inactions of others
that I was not worthy of love,
that I was not worthy of love,
that I was not worthy of love or attention.
I learned that my needs
are not a priority.
As a result of that negativity,
I experienced insecurity.
I want to be accepted by society, but I'm unsure if I have that ability.
Teach me through your actions.
Teach me through your actions.
Teach me through your actions that I deserve to be cared about
and treated well.
Don't make me feel as if I'm a burden. Remind me that I am here for a reason.
That I was brought into this life because I'm strong enough to live it.
I'm strong enough to live it.
I am strong enough to live it.
Show me that my presence is a gift.
Try
to
meet me where I am at.
Give to me without expecting anything in return.
Because I may be too hurt and angry to express appreciation when you're trying to help me.
But trust that one day,
I will remember that you gave to me.
In this way.
Can you meet me where I'm at?
Let me be sad sometimes.
Give me room to mess up and make mistakes.
Because mistakes are opportunities.
To learn and grow.
By forgiving me, you teach me how to forgive.
Understand, there will be times I need space from all the voices.
To think that they know what's best for me.
What's best for me?
What's best for me?
Remember that I am not a paycheck. I'm a person.
Will you meet me where I'm at?
Remind me that my past
Does not define me.
does not define me.
help me learn to be helped.
Mentor my thoughts.
Encourage my ideas.
Challenge my pushbacks.
Laugh with me.
Cry with me.
Have fun with me.
Have trust in me.
Ask me these questions.
What are my dreams?
What is my purpose?
What are my talents?
How can I help others?
Help others.
How can I help others?
Let me know that you're here to help me reach my goals.
And I will become empowered.
But first,
But first,
You have to meet me where I'm at.
I long for community and to be connected.
Help me with my self-esteem.
and help with my other esteem.
Which is how I feel about and relate to others.
Show me how to see that I am needed in my community.
And the world.
and see how I can make a difference.
See how I can make a difference.
See how I can make a difference.
You have this gift.
Share it with me.
Share it with me.
Share it with me.
Remember that I have lived a different life before I met you.
A life you may never understand.
I am not asking you to solve all of my problems.
Just help make sure
Just help make sure
I don't have to face my problems alone.
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 I am asking you.
I'm asking you.
I'm asking you.
I am asking you to meet me where I'm at.
meet me where I'm at.
Meet me where I'm at.
The Saybrook Fish House in Canton has been serving fresh seafood, chicken, and steak entrees for 34 years, offering 3 cozy dining room settings, a newly renovated pub with craft beer, wine by the glass, specialty cocktails, and a lighter fare menu. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Reservations accepted for parties of 2 to 42, and gift certificates are also available. The Saybrook Fish House, nestled at the crossroads of Route 44, 202, and 179 in Canton.